So after seeing the sit down between Kevin Durant and Steve Nash, Kyrie Irving offered up his rebuttal to this situation in Brooklyn. And once again, we're in an interesting media landscape right now where the pettiness out of the NBA, a lot of the pettiness that goes on in these locker rooms, eventually is going to trickle down to the podcast space. But right here, Kyrie gives great insight into how this whole Brooklyn ordeal kind of started and him not actually speaking to the Nets front office. You guys check it out, and every once in a while, I'll check in.
With the Nets front office one time. I didn't meet with the GM one time, the assistant GM one time. Literally, when I look back at that decision, I'm like, man, I should have taken some more time to delegate and figure out what's best for me. You know, KD had just tore his Achilles in the finals. Me and him were, planning on doing things to go to Brooklyn, right? I don't know any of you guys that would still stick it out with one of your friends that tears their Achilles and wait a year and a half for them to get healthy, but I'm that dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not about to leave K out there after a torn Achilles and be like, nah, fuck that. We not going to play together anymore. I waited for my brother to get healthy. You know what I'm saying? And now Brooklyn, I wish that we got a chance to get to know them beforehand because they wasn't fucking with me like that. And that's just me. That's my perspective. Now, did they want me on the team? Sure.
Now, Kyrie right there admitted something that we all kind of figured. Kevin Durant's that beautiful girl at the club, but your boy that's with you got to take one for the team and talk to her ugly friend, which is Kyrie Irving. And you could tell from the way they treated Kyrie throughout this whole saga. They were not happy about him not taking the jab. And when it came time for those extension talks, it got real quiet.
Kenny Atkinson wasn't fucking with me like that, bro. Nets didn't want me like that. They wanted K. And that's my vantage point, right? This is the information that I gathered after I left. And again, this is not about Brooklyn. It's just about business. I wish I would have handled the business better and got a chance to know them first. Ask them questions. Hey, what's the future like? Instead of just committing blindly and thinking that, hey, we about to come in here and just do X, Y, and Z.
Now, right here, we got to add some context into why Kyrie came into the situation blindly. That's how strong it was at the time for superstar players to actually command where they want to go. Player movement at this time was at an all-time high, and a lot of superstars did not see any repercussions for demanding trades and going to different teams, regardless of how the situation played out, good or bad. They got paid and they got what they wanted. So let's keep this in mind. This was at the height of player movement.
Right? I didn't have much power going in there. I couldn't say who we could get and who we could not get. I couldn't hire the coach, or if we, you guys knew my opinion on the head coach at the time, right? It wasn't perfect, but it was very immature, right? I was very immature at that point. I'm 27, 28. I'm leaving Boston, feeling good about going back home. I'm hyped. You know what I'm saying? I'm signing. You know what I mean? I left my management company, went to Rock Nation at that point. Ended up leaving Rock Nation 2 years after that. I signed with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, a lot of changes were going on. I had teammates, I had friendship changes, but I'm going to get back to the point, right? When I was in Brooklyn, I just look back at that business decision like, yo, get to know the front office before you make any decision. It's just, yeah. Now, there was a lot happening, you guys. Trust me. A lot of tentacles in the...
Again, Kyrie entered into the Brooklyn Nets situation with a lot of leverage. But at the same time, yeah, they did have their own plans. But here he is again, reacting to some of the comments that Steve Nash and KD had, reflecting on their time in Brooklyn.
Around the guys that were committed to the situation, I felt like we were committed, but everybody else wasn't. It just was weird.
So this was the part where I honestly looked at it and I was like, when he said this, emotionally I was like, okay, we're all committed to the goal at the end of the day. But sometimes not everybody's going to follow what you want them to do.
And this is where KD gets caught up at, because Kyrie is his own man's. And they actually had one too many people in that locker room that was way too headstrong. Spencer Dinwiddie is another player. He does not like to be told what to do. And KD does not have strong enough leadership skills to lead a group of men like that. He's proved it throughout his whole career. Just look at how the Nets situation played out. He never took onus from the team. He never spoke to Kyrie man to man. This isn't working out. We're going to trade you, and then we're going to move on. Instead, he signs an extension and then double back and asks for a trade. Makes no sense. They gave you the keys to the franchise. Take onus for it.
Wish I had my soundboard for this, but like, not everybody's gonna do what you want them to do, and I've had to accept that as a human being and as a leader. Not everybody's gonna do what you want them to do. Not everybody's gonna be committed the way you want them to be committed, right? And it's not like Kay is asking me for this, but it's like I asked for this commitment before I committed to Brooklyn from him, which was a beautiful thing. I'm like, yo, let's commit to this thing. We could build up Brooklyn. We could really put Brooklyn on the map. You know, nobody's really thinking about Brooklyn. But when he said that, I'm like, bro, Steve wasn't even in the play yet. But this is your man's. This is your man. So I got to support that. This is your man's. Cool. You want him? Cool. You like Steve? I love Steve. You know what I'm saying?
Now, that's the interesting dynamic right there. No wonder Kyrie made those comments, hey, KD can coach, I can coach. There was a level of contempt for the coaching hire. Ironic enough, the Nets had the exact coach that they needed the whole time, and Ime Udoka is one of the assistants. God damn, they kind of had it made, because even Mike D'Antoni was one of the assistant coaches also. Again, just because a team has a lot of resources with no infrastructure, no hierarchy, it's going to be complete chaos. Winning a championship is just way more than the personnel you can buy. It's having a system in place to hold players accountable, and the Nets did not have that.
Cool. As a younger brother, I'm like, okay, I don't care. That's fine. You want Steve to coach, that's fine. But when you're committed to the same goal and then a year changes things and then things going behind the scenes, like, come on.
But everybody else wasn't. It just was weird.
Yeah, it was weird timing, bro. It was weird for everybody. It was weird for everybody, y'all.
Now, the timing was weird for everybody because Caris LeVert, I believe they had a small forward, Harris. He was on his A game. Spencer Dinwiddie. A lot of these guys the season before had nice roles with the Nets, and they were in a building stage. When all of a sudden, out of nowhere, no one even knew, now they're getting some of the top players in the league, and they have championship expectations. The situation in Brooklyn was definitely out of whack. It was out of sorts. So with that being very noticeable, even guys like James Harden, when they joined the team, he's made comments alluding to the situation structurally within the organization was all over the place. And Kyrie Irving right here speaks on it, including when Ben Simmons was put into this already chaotic equation.
The landscape of where Ben was at, right? I don't think we knew where Ben was at. So when that trade happened, it shocked a lot of people. It shocked me. I was talking to James one day. I'm like, shit, bro, we about to go with these championships. And it was like a day later, asked for a trade. I was like, oh, shoot, okay. Shit like that now. Okay, I can't be mad. I'm not going to ever be mad at someone doing what's best for them, right? And shout out to James, right? And I've had my conversation with James, and I told him, I said, bro, I understood completely.
And let's add more context to that. James Harden actually rejected his extension with the Nets. They actually offered him that. At the end of the day, he did want that money, but he didn't want it from the Nets. And unfortunate for him, it was hard for him to get that same extension going forward. But at the time, player movement was at an all-time high, and the superstars had all the leverage. And also, James Harden was coming from an organization that was a little bit more grounded. In the last couple of seasons prior then, he was in Houston, and they were consistently at the top of the Western Conference, making deep playoff runs. So there's a structure that comes with that. And him going into Brooklyn, he probably didn't see any of it. And right here, Kyrie Irving speaks on it.
Other teams, we got coaches going to other teams.
Yup, and he's talking about coaches going to the team. Ime Udoka literally went to the Boston Celtics after coaching with us. That was crazy, bro. You know, that was crazy. We had Ime Udoka literally go to Boston the next year.
It was already crazy you guys hired Steve Nash over Ime. Everyone knew he came from that Greg Popovich tree, and at the time, he was a highly coveted assistant coach. They knew he was going to be a great head coach already. There was plenty of rumblings around the league about him. So what he did in Boston didn't come by any surprise.
I mean, like, you had coaches leaving other teams, and it wasn't anybody's fault. It's just opportunity. But we're in the same division. Can you imagine going against the coach that literally saw all of our strengths and weaknesses, and now we're playing against them?
Exactly. And also, let's go to the James Harden situation. Why make a trade in the same division for a player like Ben Simmons, who clearly had a mental breakdown in the playoffs? His confidence at the time was at an all-time low. Why insert him into that chaos? If you're going to trade James Harden away, trade him away out of your division. Nothing the Nets did made sense. They were just too all over the place. Once again, the Nets were like that dorky guy that's dating the hottest chick in the school, but then he doesn't really know how to handle it. That's the exact scenario that they were in with KD. When expectations come with no organizational structure, it's just straight chaos.
You know what I'm saying? So Boston was ready for us. Ime had them ready, had the Celtics ready, dog. When we played them in the 2022 playoffs, shit got wild. Shit got wild, y'all. For sure, shit got wild. So we had a lot going on. Katie is right. That's what I'm saying. When I said I'm gonna address this on stream, it literally was just about doing this and having fun with it and letting people know. Okay. Letting people know like what it is. That's all.
Now, Kyrie right there had a quick pause and he looked at his phone. That's because his agent was letting him know that he was saying too much while being on that stream. We all love that Kyrie Irving speaks from his heart, but him being in the league, they still got to play it cool.
I'd like to just say this as a disclaimer, okay? Me and Katie are not beefing. I'm not beefing with Steve Nash. I'm not beefing with anybody, you guys. All right, this is not personal against Katie.
Hey, the NBA is a petty league, and when you insert this brand new media dynamic with the technology evolving so much that all these guys have their own platforms, it allows for a brand new channel for a lot of that pettiness to actually catch on fire and just get everywhere. So not all franchises are built the same. Some of them have structures organizationally, like the Miami Heat, where if guys like KD and Kyrie came in, their feet get held to the fire to certain standards and certain guidelines. The Nets clearly are a franchise that were happy that the hottest girl in the league was able to come to them, but they were not prepared organizationally. And it showed. And it definitely showed. The pandemic, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Ben Simmons. It's just a lot of chaotic factors coming into that building with already no structure. It's just a complete shit show, and it was definitely a fiasco, but there were some good moments. Some flashes of brilliance. Kyrie Irving that first season had brilliant games where he put on a scoring clinic. And Kevin Durant in 2021, even though they had a whole bunch of injuries, brought him very close to getting into the finals. But sometimes sagas like this are not really meant to last long.